Imagine a place where not just books, but all knowledge generated by human intellect was meticulously gathered, from mathematical theorems describing the heavens to poetic odes celebrating the deepest human emotions. A location that housed the original works of Euclid, Archimedes, and Plato, and perhaps even long-lost testimonies concerning Atlantis. This place was the Great Library of Alexandria. Not merely a repository of scrolls, but the intellectual pulse of the ancient world, its very brain and soul. Today, as we investigate history, we recall the grandeur of architectural marvels, yet none compare to the tragedy of losing this masterpiece, a creation not just of building, but of intellectual organization. Ptolemaic Alexandria gave the world the lighthouse of Pharos, a physical wonder, and the library, an intellectual one. But, like most grand structures, it failed to withstand the ravages of time, politics, and human negligence. Our current investigation is dedicated to the architecture that enabled such a concentration of knowledge, and a detailed inquiry into what truly happened to humanity's greatest treasure.
Ask any historian or archaeologist about the single greatest loss, and most will name this site. Why was this place, protected by the most powerful rulers of its time, ultimately doomed? Historical sources paint a fragmented picture. Some accuse the flames ignited by Julius Caesar, others point to religious fanatics in late antiquity, and still others to the mundane bureaucratic neglect that consumed it from within. The true drama lies in the fact that the library most likely did not perish in one dramatic fire, but was killed slowly, step by step, decision by decision, until nothing remained but dust and myth. We will attempt to reconstruct not only its exterior appearance, but also the internal architecture of its operation. How the scrolls were organized, how the scholars lived and worked, and what this architectural gem, which unified Greek, Egyptian, and Eastern cultures in one harmonious structure, looked like. A structure that would today be universally recognized as a wonder of the world.
Welcome to our channel, Vanished Grandeur. We begin our first season with the greatest loss of all. Today's story is not just about walls and columns, but about how architecture can serve as a vessel for the human spirit, and what happens when that spirit is shattered. We investigate not only what was destroyed, but why. Our niche is dedicated to those buildings that were either physically demolished by catastrophe, forbidden from existence by political will, or, as in the case of the library, erased from memory due to a confluence of historical circumstances. The Library of Alexandria was not a standalone building. It was part of a larger complex, the Mouseion, or Temple of the Muses, a kind of state-funded university and research center. This architectural ensemble embodied the ideal of Hellenistic civilization, a combination of knowledge, art, and state power aimed at progress. Let us try to visualize this monumental structure towering over the city, symbolizing the intellectual hegemony of the Ptolemies.
To grasp the library's magnificence, one must understand Alexandria itself. The city, founded by Alexander the Great, became the capital of Egypt under the rule of the Ptolemaic dynasty. This period, known as the Hellenistic Age, was characterized by cultural blending and a quest for universal knowledge. The library and Mouseion were established by Ptolemy I Soter and his son Ptolemy II Philadelphus around the 3rd century BCE. Their goal was not merely to collect, but to translate and systematize the knowledge of all the known world. This was an instrument of political power. We are the successors of Alexander, and we control the knowledge of the world. This pursuit of comprehensiveness led to unprecedented architectural policy. Every ship entering the harbor was obligated to surrender its scrolls for copying. The original remained in the library, and a copy was returned to the owner. This demonstrates an unparalleled level of state funding and political will aimed at creating an architectural complex whose sole purpose was the preservation of information and the advancement of scientific endeavor.
The library was not a separate building, but integrated into the Mouseion complex. Although archaeological evidence is scarce, historians reconstruct this complex as a monumental ensemble befitting its purpose. These were marble structures featuring porticos, colonnades, and grand halls. At the center lay the peripatos, a walking path for philosophical discussions, a large dining hall, lecture rooms, exedrae, and, of course, the book repositories themselves. The architecture was designed for functionality. Large windows for natural light, critical for reading, storage systems for scrolls, usually in clay or wooden cylinders, placed on shelves called armaria, and a sophisticated fire safety system as far as was possible in antiquity. It was the peak of knowledge architecture, a space where engineering was subservient to intellect.
The lost masterpiece was not only the building itself, but its internal architecture, the system of cataloging. At its height, the library is believed to have contained between 500,000 and 700,000 scrolls. Managing such a volume would have been impossible without a rigid, logical structure. This architecture of knowledge was created by Callimachus of Cyrene, the compiler of the Ptolemaic, the first systematic catalog in history, comprising 120 book volumes. He divided all knowledge into genres: epic, drama, history, philosophy, medicine, etc., and classified authors alphabetically within those genres. This architectural ordering of information was revolutionary and defined library methodology for a millennium. The loss of the Ptolemaic is as great a tragedy as the loss of the building itself, as we lost the map to the knowledge of that era.
The Mouseion was home to the greatest minds of the Hellenistic world. Euclid, who wrote the Elements, the foundation of geometry; Herophilus, who founded anatomy; and Eratosthenes, who not only directed the library, but also calculated the Earth's circumference with astonishing accuracy, all worked here. These individuals operated within an architectural environment specifically designed for their work. Astronomers had observatories on the roofs. Anatomists had special rooms, and philologists had halls for copying and comparing texts. This was engineering thought embedded in stone. Architecture that stimulated scientific breakthrough is a masterpiece in itself. Every column, every hall served an intellectual purpose, transforming an ordinary building into a scientific incubator the world would not see again until the Renaissance.
The library's grandeur began to wane even before it was physically destroyed. The first major blow was struck in 48-47 BCE during Julius Caesar's siege of Alexandria. To prevent his fleet from being captured, Caesar ordered the burning of ships in the harbor, and the fire, according to some sources, including Plutarch, spread to the adjacent docks and warehouses, where scrolls were likely stored. Although the extent of the damage is still debated, this was the first alarm. Alexandria lost its political independence and became a Roman province. Emperors still supported it, but with less zeal. Holdings dwindled, and the quality of collection declined. This marked the beginning of administrative oblivion, where the idea of universal knowledge was forbidden from full realization due to a lack of political will.
The historical consensus today rejects the idea of a single catalyst. The true disappearance was centuries in the making. The second and more devastating phase occurred in the late 3rd and 4th centuries CE. In 272, Emperor Aurelian destroyed much of the city during a struggle for power. The Great Library was likely fully destroyed during this time. Only its smaller branch, the Serapeum Library, remained. The third and most controversial phase happened in 391 CE, when the Christian patriarch Theophilus received permission to destroy the pagan Serapeum temple, which housed the branch library.
Although this was the physical destruction of the building, the scrolls had likely been removed or destroyed earlier. This was a ban not on the structure, but on the pagan ideology embodied within it. The final and most popular, yet historically unsubstantiated version is linked to the Arab conquest of Alexandria in 642 CE. The legend tells of Caliph Omar, who supposedly ordered the scrolls burned, stating, "If they contradict the Quran, they are harmful and must be destroyed. If they agree, they are superfluous." This myth, which only appeared centuries after the event, served as a political tool and propaganda. In reality, by that time, the Great Library no longer existed, and the Serapeum branch had been ruined. Crucially, this legend highlights the most terrifying aspect: how knowledge can be forbidden for ideological reasons. The physical destruction of stone and marble is one thing, but the burning of scrolls is the architectural loss of the spirit of an entire civilization. The true tragedy of the library is that we will never know exactly what was within it. This is not just the loss of wall architecture, but the loss of the architecture of thought. It is believed to have held the originals of Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, including over 90 tragedies that we only know by name today. It likely contained the works of Democritus on atomism, which could have accelerated scientific progress by 1,000 years, or the complete world maps of Claudius Ptolemy. According to some scholars, only 10% of ancient Greek literature has reached us. The 90% that disappeared could have completely transformed our understanding of the ancient world, its philosophy, technology, and architectural knowledge. It is like the disappearance of the master plan for an entire civilization.
The loss of the library had a profound and long-lasting impact on the scientific method. Without a centralized repository for text collation, copying became less reliable. The era of knowledge fragmentation ensued. The loss of Callimachus's Pinakes meant scholars no longer had a universal system of classification. The architecture of library science was shattered, and knowledge began to circulate in isolated monastic and private collections, slowing progress. It was an architectural collapse that led to intellectual stagnation. Even today, when scholars find new papyri, they face a challenge. Was this text already known in Alexandria, or is it new? The loss of the catalog turned our historical research into a true search operation.
Compared to other lost wonders of the world, like the Pharos Lighthouse or the Colossus of Rhodes, the Library of Alexandria is unique. The lighthouse was an engineering feat that served a practical purpose. The library was the architecture of an idea. Its destruction is not just the demolition of a monument, but the deconstruction of thought. When the Temple of Artemis was ruined, we lost beauty. When the library vanished, we lost the method of accessing beauty and truth. This makes it a forbidden masterpiece, not because it was inherently dangerous, though knowledge is always dangerous to tyrants, but because its absence forbid us access to a significant part of our heritage.
Because the archaeological remnants of the Great Library remain elusive due to rising water levels and later construction, our reconstruction of its appearance relies on descriptions, analogies with other Hellenistic complexes, and modern artistry. We imagine spacious courtyards, statues of the Muses, marble floors, and rows of colonnades leading to the repositories. The library's architecture likely combined Greek openness, porticos, with Egyptian monumentality. Every visualization we see today is an attempt at architectural revival, a tribute to what must be restored, if only in our imagination.
Alexandria's story is a chilling parallel to later losses. The destruction of Baghdad's House of Wisdom by the Mongols, the burning of Maya manuscripts by Spanish conquistadors, or the recent destruction of archives in Sarajevo and the Bamiyan Buddhas. Each of these acts is a repetition of the Alexandrian tragedy. It is a ban on foreign culture, on an alternative point of view. It is the destruction of the architectural vessel to destroy the idea. The library story teaches us that the most vulnerable masterpieces are those that store ideas, not just stone.
Despite all the losses, hope remains. Recent archaeological discoveries in the Alexandria area, though not revealing the building itself, have confirmed the location of part of the museum. Remains of lecture halls and auditoriums have been found, offering clues about the complex's layout. Every fragment found, every marble chip, helps us complete the architectural puzzle. Perhaps one day, beneath the modern streets of Alexandria, an underground vault, if it existed, containing a portion of the scrolls, or at least a detailed architectural blueprint, will be found. Until that day comes, the library remains the most magnificent yet forbidden architectural treasure.
So, what have we learned about the Library of Alexandria? We have learned that it was a masterpiece not only of Greek, but of universal architectural planning. It was designed not for worship, but for work, for the processing, storage, and dissemination of information. Its demise was multifaceted: partial damage by fire, political purges, religious fanaticism, and, most critically, the slow erosion of state funding and interest. The library didn't just disappear, it was allowed to disappear. This tragedy serves as an architectural lesson for us. The most beautiful and important buildings in the world are not just those that impress the eye, but those that nourish the mind. Without public support and political will, any masterpiece, even the architecture of knowledge, can be lost.
Fortunately, the idea embodied in the ancient architecture did not perish completely. In 2002, the modern Bibliotheca Alexandrina was opened on or near the original site. It is a futuristic, incredibly beautiful architectural masterpiece designed by the Norwegian firm Snohetta. Its structure, resembling a tilted sun disk and covered with letters from all known alphabets, symbolizes that same universality. It is an architectural attempt to lift the ban on lost knowledge, to restore the intellectual pulse of the region. This modern project, despite all its technological advantages, carries the weight of history and serves as a reminder of the high cost of loss. It is an architectural act of repentance and hope.
The forbidden and lost architectural masterpiece of the Library of Alexandria reminds us that our heritage is not only material objects, it is the knowledge and ideas they contain. Every ruined hall, every lost scroll, is a breach in our collective memory. This was the place where the size of our planet was first calculated, and that truth was built into its walls. We must always remember that the greatest power of architecture lies in its ability to serve people and their pursuit of truth. And when that architecture is destroyed, we become poorer by entire eras of knowledge.
Thank you for joining us on this deep investigation into the greatest intellectual loss. The story of the library is just the beginning of our journey into the world of vanished grandeur. If this narrative about the architecture that became the vessel for an idea resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. In the next episode, we will travel to Afghanistan to explore another, much later, yet equally tragic story: the Mouseion Buddhas, how the Islamic world mourned their destruction. We will reveal the architectural technique behind the creation of these colossal rock-carved statues and the political drama that led to their ban and demolition in 2001. What other lost masterpiece would you like us to investigate in future seasons? Leave your suggestions in the comments below.